You are now watching the Amazing Mets pregame show with your hosts, Rob and CP.
Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets!
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the Amazing Mets pregame show right here on both of our channels, on X and, of course, on Twitch. All right, Mets fans, today is the day. Doubleheader in Atlanta, Truist Park, House of Horrors, Kryptonite team, all in one whole freaking day where it could be a lot of fun or it can be very, very upsetting. But the Mets have an opportunity here to win one game and they're in, lose two games and they're out. And the scenario couldn't be any more simpler. Chris, how are you doing, buddy?
Love it. Look at those bright colors. Look at those bright colors on Rob today. Listen, bright colors for a bright day. Queen South. I love it. What better shirt to wear than that one on this day for two in Atlanta? Listen, this is exactly what we've been making content all season for. We've been talking about it on the pre-games, the post-games, our roundtables, everything else in between has led up in the analysis of this season up until this point. It's do or die time, win and in. And unfortunately, I apologize. Like I said, if my connection's unstable, if I look a little bit weird, I'm traveling, but I'm here and I'm making a point to talk about Mets baseball because this team has an opportunity to do something special today. They have an opportunity to do something special. We have the game one lineup. We have the game one pitching matchup. And we're going to be here to talk about it here because we're approaching first pitch fastly. And you know what, Rob? I don't even want to wait till game two. I want to get this out of the way in game one. And we got Tyler McGill on the bump. So let's get into it. This is a big day.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, I said it yesterday when it comes to the pitching matchup, right? You know, it was obvious that Schwellenbach was going to be game one starter for the Braves. I said it in the post game at the end. I would be shocked if Mendoza goes with Tyler McGill, right? He's pitched better than Severino over the last couple of starts. And, you know, it's kind of a little bit of a perfect scenario if the Mets win game one because you save Severino for game one of the wild card series if you win game one. And, you know, if Severino would have won today, obviously Tyler McGill would have been ready for game two or possibly game one of the wild card series. But I like this. Tyler McGill has been pitching his best baseball of the season. You can get a good outing from him, and you might win a game here and save Severino for game one of the wild card. What do you think about that Tyler McGill decision from Mendoza?
Yeah, I like it, honestly. And we were having the speculative conversations about Luis Severino going back down to Atlanta and getting another crack at it. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I really do think that if it comes down to Sevy, I'm fine with it. I've said it time and time again. I think that I trust in Severino. I know that a lot of people don't share the same sentiment. We know that he had a lackluster start the last go around, but I agree with you. And Tyler McGill doesn't even need to pitch deep into the ball game, right?
Oh,
He can emulate something that he did on Sunday Night Baseball against Zach Wheeler, who was the counterpart in that game in the Philly series in game four. All we need is a respectable 4 innings out of Tyler McGill. 5 innings would be great. We have both in our live chat polls over on my channel and on your channel asking you all as Mets fans and just viewers in general, how many innings do you all think that Tyler McGill goes today in Atlanta? But the great thing that Carlos Mendoza has at his disposal is that he has Jose Butto waiting in the wings of the bullpen. And I said it in the chat, I believe, with D before we went live. I was kind of, talking back and forth. Something like 6 or 7 combined innings out of Tyler McGill and Jose Butto today in game one would put me in a very comfortable spot. Now, again, in those 6 to 7 innings between these two guys, you got to limit the mistakes. You got to have your command and you got to keep it respectable for this offense because, again, we know who we're going up against in Spencer Schwellenbach. I don't think it's a surprise that they moved Chris Sale to a potential game two if they need it. But Spencer Schwellenbach has been a pain in the Mets' asses this season. What is he, 3-0 at this point? 1 earned run given up, or is it 2-0? Something of that nature. It doesn't really matter. This is his 3rd start against the Mets, I believe, this season. So the only really person that's had success off of Spencer Schwellenbach has been Mark Vientos. And I like it, though. Confidence in Tyler. You know he's going to go out there, pump 96 to 97. Hopefully he has his new and improved pitch working for him. Hopefully, he's able to locate up in the zone. That's something that Luis Severino could not do consistently, is locate up in the zone to this Braves lineup. I'm sure the game plan is going to be the same thing. You look at what David Peterson did yesterday. I know that you were on the post game and I wasn't available for the post game. What did David Peterson do? He was trying to live on that upper part of the zone, right? Obviously, you want to still pump those in for strikes, letter high, and that's what David Peterson was able to do. The same game plan applies here for Tyler McGill. I think he's going to be able to do it, and he's been looking impressive his last couple of outings. Again, it doesn't matter how many innings he goes. It doesn't matter. It's all hands on deck because everybody's available out of the bullpen should their number be called. So I like the decision, and I'm not really surprised at all. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the interesting thing here is that, look, regardless of the outcome of the game, Budo's coming in this ball game, regardless of what's going on in the ball game. You know, if Tyler McGill doesn't have it, Buto's coming in the ball game. He's going to be the next guy up. And listen, Buto might not be available for game 2 or the next 2 games in the wild card if the Mets make the playoffs. But you have to win. You have to win. I think you have to win the first game, to be quite honest with you, right? Regardless if Severino's going in game 2, I just don't think the vibes are going to be there, right? You know, it's gonna be a weird feeling knowing that somebody can get knocked out after game 1. I mean, somebody can make the playoffs in game 1 and not really care about game 2, which is obviously going to happen for one of the teams. But look, you're 100% right what David Peterson did, staying at that top of the zone, right? He was getting a little bit off the corners on both sides, which helped him a lot. Tyler McGill needs that help as well, right? He has to work that fastball up in the zone, right? The Braves are a much more strikeout-prone team than the Milwaukee Brewers. This is why I think Tyler McGill is going first in game 1 today, is because of the fact that I think if he has that high fastball going, I think he's in good shape. But he does need a secondary pitch. He does need that second pitch to be working for him. If it's the slider, if it's the curveball, changeup, whatever pitch that might be working along with that four-seamer, I think he's going to be okay. He needs to get one of his breaking balls or off-speed pitches around the plate, or at least getting called for strikes, where he can have the batter thinking about more than one pitch. And listen, we know Riley's not in there, right? We know Acuna is not there, but they got a lot of hitters that can do a lot of damage. Michael Harris destroys the Mets, right? Travis d'Arnaud finds a way to always kill the Mets. There's a lot of guys in this lineup that are Met killers. But again, the Mets are the away team. The Mets get first crack in the first inning. They need to score early. So what happened yesterday, as soon as they got runs on board, it just felt like a different vibe. It felt like it woke them up a little bit. Not saying that it would do anything in this game, you know, because of yesterday, but you score first, it puts the pressure solely on the Braves. They're at home, right? And I think that's the case right now. I think they have to score early. And look, anybody who has a lead, any pitcher, is going to feel a little bit more better having a lead than having to be perfect. And I think that's what they need to do. Peterson got on the mound yesterday with the lead. It's a huge difference for a pitcher than trying to put up a 0 when your offense is not doing anything. So Tyler McGill, give him a little bit of offense, and he's basically been a better pitcher over his last couple of starts. So, you know, I have confidence in McGill, but we know how it goes with McGill. If he doesn't have, you know, his fastball, he's going to be fighting through the game. And you just hope he puts up zeros, Chris. And I think that's the key to the game here. Score early and give McGill a lead. And this lineup, he went very veteran in this lineup. So, you know, we'll talk about that, because that's going to be, I know people in the chat are questioning it right now, but I'm actually not. I actually am okay with this lineup. Yeah, I know.
I'm more than okay with this lineup. I'm more than okay with this lineup, honestly. I think it was a given. I think the writing was on the wall with the Marte splits this year, lefty versus righty, that he wasn't going to play. Obviously, they're opting for more defense as well in the outfield. We know the Braves can smack the ball around. Obviously, last go around too, Marte had a couple good catches there, but you just don't want to ever take that risk. So that's why I think it's going to be Bader and Taylor manning the center field and right center or right field positions today. But yeah, I don't mind this lineup whatsoever. Again, you know, a guy like Pete Alonso, you're gonna need to not chase that slider, because you know it's coming from Spencer Schwellenbach. But more of the approach that I think the Mets should try to learn from is what we said in the post game after that Braves game last week. We went on a rant. We told you all exactly why the Mets weren't having success, and they need to take advantage of Spencer Schwellenbach's fastball. He's
Yep.
going to try to get it over, right? He has great pitches, great off-speed pitches, right? And he uses that for put away pitches, etc. But in order to establish a pitcher's count, Spencer Schwellenbach also made some mistakes with his fastball in terms of the location of it last go around. And I'm looking at primarily the first pitch to try to get it over and sneak one by. And we saw the Mets lineup either beat it into the ground or they just whiffed at it. And you need to take advantage of that fastball in order to try to mitigate seeing that splitter, I believe he has, especially that slider for Pete Alonso. And that's something that Mark Vientos had success with. If you remember the 2 hits and the solo home run that he had against Spencer Schwellenbach, both, by the way, were to the opposite field. That's something that the Mets need to incorporate today because that is how you hit Spencer Schwellenbach, and Mark Vientos proved that to you. But again, in the Brewers game yesterday as well, I saw aggressive at-bats, and that led to the early runs that you just said, Rob. That is going to be so very important. We saw JD Martinez get a couple of base knocks yesterday, right? That was awesome to see. And you know what? I like Tyrone Taylor back in the lineup as well. So we'll see what happens. You have Alvey there catching. You got to keep or try to keep Michael Harris off the base pass. This is a team that's also going to steal on you, especially those top 2 guys in Michael Harris and Ozzy Albies. Obviously, we've known and do know about the sort of back issue or now the hamstring issue, I guess, that Alvarez had after last night's game. But he said it's not expected to sort of hinder him, and he's back in the lineup today. Keep them off the base paths. Again, that's going to be Tyler McGill's job. And limit the mistakes. Please limit the mistakes. The 3rd inning in the last game, they started to crumble because they made just simple errors, running into guys, throwing the ball away, not hitting your cutoff man. You cannot afford to allow this team to get extra bases. Yes, they're going to score runs. Am I expecting Tyler McGill to go out there and pitch a scoreless outing, right? No, I'm not expecting that. They're going to get their fair share of runs. They're a home run team. They do strike out a lot, which is why I want to see Tyler McGill elevate. But again, I'm expecting clean baseball, not perfect baseball. And if you play clean baseball, the offense, you should put your offense in a position to win ball games. And from the offensive perspective, again, like I mentioned, that's the approach. You know what you're going to get if you're Pete Alonso. You do not miss that fastball if you get it. And if you do, I don't know what it's going to take for him to lay off that slider. I have no idea what it's going to take. It's like pulling teeth with Pete Alonso. But again, you know you're going to see it. So we'll monitor that there in the 5 spot. But, this is a lineup that you should go out there and score runs off of Spencer Schwellenbach. I'm sorry. There's no excuse not to. You've seen him twice already in this season. You know what he's got. I'm sure they watched video on the flight over from Milwaukee. It's time to get it done. No more excuses.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, you're spot on about that fastball. Like even in that ball game when they were whiffing on that pitch, they were also taking a lot of fastballs. So what did they do? Especially first pitch. First pitch fed like this kid wants to get ahead. That's his game. He gets ahead, and then he can throw you a bunch of junk up there, and the Mets fell for it, right? And when they had opportunities to swing at fastballs, they missed them. And you got to get to him early. He is a dangerous type of pitcher once he is in a pitcher's count. He's going to use that junk up there. He's not going to throw you a strike with his breaking stuff or off-speed pitches. He will not. His location with fastball could be a little off early. That's why you got to get to him early because he gets better when the game goes on. Look, all these hitters, it doesn't matter who it is. We can talk about any player that's struggling or not struggling. They got to work that fastball. They have to work that fastball. You see what the Mets did? And you know what? When they get on the base path, by the way, they need to be aggressive like they were yesterday. They got to make them uncomfortable, right? Lindor, Iglesias, Nimmo, I don't care. Whoever got some speed, you got to start stealing base. Even if you get caught stealing, it puts it in their mind every time you have a guy on base that they might steal a base, especially on first base, right? You got to put the pressure on them. You got to make them uncomfortable. He was way too comfortable on Tuesday. And it's not like the Braves were scoring runs in the first inning and put up 5, 6, 7 runs right away. No, it was still a ball game, very early on in the game. So it's got to be better. They got to have better at-bats. Hopefully good signs yesterday. Regardless, I know people are like, oh, they didn't pitch anybody good or anything like that. The Mets weren't hitting anybody, right? It didn't matter. They made Montas look like an ace. Like, the fact is, they got to just stay within themselves. And I talked about this yesterday. Fundamentals. right? They put their best defense on the field today. They clearly think it's going to be a low-scoring game. You put your best outfield out there, you put your best infield out there, and hope you win the ball game. But the offense got to just stop trying to do too much, right? They did exactly what the Brewers did in game 2. Singles, doubles. That right? They didn't do too much, right? Moving runners over, bunting guys over, sack flies. Something that the Mets usually don't do. They were doing that yesterday. And it was a sign of a desperate team, but they weren't scared yesterday, right? You could be desperate and still play fundamental baseball. In the first 2 games against the Brewers and the Braves, they played not desperate. They played scared and lifeless, Chris.
That's the key. That's the key here, Rob, is that game, right? The first 2 games in Milwaukee, but especially that game in Atlanta last week, they were playing timid. They were playing conservative. They were playing like they didn't want to make any mistakes and they were just waiting for themselves to make that first mistake, right? Like, when is it coming? When is it coming? But you see, when you have a sense of urgency, when your season's on the line, when you need a win in Milwaukee in game 3, what happens? You get a leadoff walk for Francisco Lindor. He takes off, steals second, right? Gets brought in by a Brandon Nimmo single. What happens then? Brandon Nimmo goes out there and steals a base. Put the pressure on, right? It's not the end of the world if you get caught stealing, but put the pressure on, because when you put pressure on a team, right, they're bound to make mistakes. And that's exactly what the Braves do. That's their MO. They're like, listen, you can try and catch us, right? We're going to go and try to swipe a bag. You can try and catch us. If you do, hats off to you. But if you don't, we just put immense pressure on you. And that's what I want to see the Mets do back to the Braves today. Play with a sense of urgency. Don't play conservative. Take some risks, obviously calculated risks, right? We're talking about, but take some risks. This is something where, right, you have the opportunity to clinch yourself a playoff berth in game 1 and then relax a little bit in game 2, right? So again, everyone knows the scenarios. By the way, I know we didn't mention this at the top of the stream. Please hit the thumbs up on our streams, subscribe to both channels, all that good stuff. You know where to find myself and Rob for all these pregame and postgame streams. We will be live after game 1 as well. We'll be going live directly after, so we got you all covered with the instant reactions to game 1. Hopefully we are a happy group, both in the chat and up on screen, talking about a Mets clinch. I would love nothing more than to get this out of the way in game 1. But again, I need to see out of the gate a sense of urgency. You cannot wait until the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th inning to try to go out there and change the tone. You got to do it up front, and that's what I'm looking for. So again, this is not going to be a walk in the park. Spencer Schwellenbach has great stuff. He throws 97 to 98 with ease. Obviously, he gets a lot of ground balls. We've seen that multiple times. You got to go out there and get it done, right? Make those adjustments. Hit the opposite field gap like Mark Vientos has shown you he can do against the Braves and against Spencer Schwellenbach. Jose Iglesias, fantastic job. Round of applause for a 20-game hit streak. I love it.
Awesome.
Continue to pile base runners on. Hit the gaps. It's not rocket science at this point. Again, what do we say in the pregame, yesterday? There's not much rocket science. There's not much over, analyzing we can do for you all. It's right in front of us. It's right. The writing's on the wall at this point. The way to be successful against the Braves is not to play timid, especially in Atlanta. We all know this is a house of horrors, like you said. What are they, 25 and 37 since the ballpark opened up over there in 2017? Who cares? Who cares? Go out there, back up Tyler McGill, and ambush Spencer Schwellenbach, right? They made the decision to not go with their Cy Young frontrunner and Chris Sale. So be it. Show Brian Snitker why that was the wrong decision. I want to see that. Play with a sense of urgency. And you know what? I know that we're done talking about, Pete Alonso and the production, but how great would it be to see a home run at least from Pete Alonso in the middle of that lineup? Listen, get it done, man. I don't care who gets it done. I don't care how it gets done. Just get it done.
Yeah, and Ken put it in the chat. 2 home runs, 5 RBIs from Alonso. If Alonso does that today, I will not say another word about Pete Alonso. Somebody brings it up, I'm like, yeah, that's it. I'm not even gonna say a word anymore. I won't do that. But he's got to do it. Like if there's no other game for him to do it in the season than right now. What would be the talk of the town if Pete Alonso goes out there and basically wins this game for the Mets? That would be insane. Like all season, you were garbage in runners in scoring position and big moments, and you do it in game 161, playoffs on the line, winning you're in. I mean, that would be awesome. Again,
It's a great storyline, Rob. That's a great storyline, but I think that we should just temper our expectations. I
yeah.
only threw that out there because I wanted to rile you up a little bit.
Look, I'm gonna tell you right now. Listen, I'm gonna be watching a game, and I won't expect Alonso to do anything. Like it's so sad to say that, right? And it's almost all Met fans now that feel the same way, and it's sad. And the writing's starting to become, starting to look, darker and darker on the wall. You could see it now that there's a pretty good chance that Alonso will not be back. Like it's starting to feel that way very quickly. And again, that doesn't mean that he can't come back or anything like that, but it's just a weird feeling when Alonso's at the plate, right? And it's not even just he's not getting hits, right? When JD Martinez was struggling over the last week, he was putting the bat on the ball a little bit, right? And he wasn't striking out at the highest clip he was, 2 weeks ago, right? Over the last, even the Brave series, he hit a couple of balls hard, hit it on the, hit it right on the fat of the part of the bat. And you've seen a little bit of signs, no results, but you've seen signs. And yesterday, it finally happened, right? It took the third base bag once again to help us out, right? So, and look, I know some people, and it was a conversation on the post game, if you should play Martinez or Acuna, like Lindor DH, Acuna shortstop, and that's the way it would have been. The reason why I wanted JD Martinez in there, this is the first sign of a good sign from Martinez with results. I'm not leaving this guy on the bench. I'm sorry. Acuna is more effective right now with Martinez looking a little bit better at the plate coming off the bench, right? You can pinch hit him at any moment. You can pinch run him at any moment. I think right in this game, we don't have to talk about game 2 or the postseason if that happens. I think this is a smart move by Mendoza, because to sit down JD Martinez after he finally broke through his offer is just not a good way to manage a team, especially the way Mendoza has managed all year, right? He gives you the opportunity to figure it out. When he does that, he gives you that extra day, and that's what he did with JD Martinez. I would do it. And easy, I agree. Look, I understand you don't trust JD Martinez, but you didn't trust JD Martinez yesterday, and he came through. Guys can't break out of slumps if they don't play. And you didn't sign JD Martinez at the end of spring training for him to be sitting on the bench on game 161, winning you're in game. You're just not. I'm sorry.
As much as everybody likes
Acuna, and Chris is one of the biggest Acuna fans. He wanted them up 2 months ago, right? But facts are facts. Acuna is still a rookie. Acuna is still a kid, right? Throwing him in a spot like this doesn't mean he's going to do well. Just because you think he can provide more than JD Martinez, we just don't know. Because Acuna can go 0 for 4 just like JD Martinez. And what did we get out of that? Nothing, right? I'd rather go with the veteran who finally showed something and got the results, Chris. So I don't know. I'm okay with the lineup. I really am.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I think I said it like, the best lineup configuration in terms of the defense, right, would be to have Acuna in there with the rest of the guys. But I think from an offensive perspective, and you've said this many times, and I definitely agree with you in terms of that veteran obviously has been struggling. He knows he's been struggling, right? We all know he's been struggling. Everybody knows he's been struggling. But the trust in Mendoza, with JD Martinez and putting him out there in this situation obviously tells us a lot. So who are we to go against Carlos Mendoza's word, where we've been kind of preaching that he's been making more often than not the right decisions, but also, right, like you said, he's been in these spots. He's been in these playoff games. He's been in World Series games bigger than these situations where you need to win. So I'm going to trust him here. And if JD Martinez, right, when he's going, is it being one of the best opposite field hitters on this team, alongside a guy like Mark Vientos, why not? Why not? So I like it. We'll see if it pays off. Obviously, you kind of compensate with the speed that you could, that we just talked about, that you could utilize to pressure the Atlanta Braves. But again, I think from the hitting perspective of things, I think you got to play JD Martinez. And by the way, let's not also gloss over the fact that, in JD Martinez's post-game interview, I believe yesterday, did you see what he said? He said, no pressure. Why should there be any pressure? And I know that you don't agree, Rob. I agree that there is pressure on
Yeah.
both teams today, given what the situation is for the wild card, obviously. But the Braves are feeling a little bit better in terms of the pitching matchup, presumably, and them being at home, given what the home record is against the New York Mets. But again, JD Martinez kind of reiterated what he said months ago, and he literally used this term, and it was so like blunt and so out there. He's like, when we sucked, I said, why should we have any pressure on us? No one expects anything from us.
Yep.
He said this months back before this incredible magical run even started. And guess what? He was asked the same question yesterday about what the pressure is like for the New York Mets. Obviously, he's not going to go out there and say, oh, the Mets aren't feeling, we're not feeling any pressure at all. Like, or the opposite of that. He's not going to go out there and say, we're feeling a ton of pressure, like we're scared. Like, he's not going to say that. Obviously, they're dealing with some pressure. That's the nature of sports. But I agree with him, though. I think the sentiment should be the same.
Yeah.
They got here, right? And they got here by having nothing to lose. We always talked about low expectations coming into the season from the offseason, tempering expectations. Go out there and play loose. Again, play like you have nothing to lose. That's how I want to see the Mets play today. And I like the comments by JD Martinez.
Absolutely. And, 100%. And, I'm glad he said that. I'm actually glad he said that because it seems like, look, even when Martinez is struggling, the team still listens to him. A lot of these guys still believe in him, and still you saw when he came back to the bench, all the high fives and the butt slaps he got going on. This team loves him and trusts him. And he said that, and on top of that, being angry with MLB and being very vocal about it, they could have easily pushed that game back to Wednesday, not just for the Mets purposes and being biased with the Mets. It's also the Braves as well. Because if both of these games matter for either one of these teams, if it matters for the Braves, they got to use both of their pitchers. They're going with, their third best pitcher in game one. The Mets could be doing that as well. Fourth best pitcher, who knows? But I like that he said that, right? He was vocal about it. JD Martinez has his team's back. He trusts his team and he believes in his team. And he said it yesterday, just the way he said it a couple of months ago. And I love the fact that he said that. And listen, guys, we got about an hour until game time. It's do or die. There is no excuses. I'm going to make Chris say his final words, as I know he has to, get his butt out of here and do what he's got to do. Chris, final words for game 161.
Yeah, apologies for cutting this pregame a little short. Only had half an hour on my hands. Again, I am on travel, so I do apologize. I will be back up here for the postgame. Hopefully, we got you guys covered. It's just that simple. So subscribe to both channels, hit the thumbs up. It definitely helps us out a lot. Whether you're watching over on X, whether you're watching on Rob's Twitch, or wherever you're watching from, come over to the YouTube, hit that YouTube link, and subscribe to the channel and smash those thumbs up. This is the most important day of the season, right? We never knew if we were going to get to this point where the Mets were trying to clinch a playoff spot in, the late part of the season, especially not game 161 or 162. The fact that they are in this thing and they need one of two today, as opposed to both, right? Had they lost yesterday's game, makes me, a lot more confident. Obviously, I think that it can be said that the Braves have the better pitching matchup and the more favorable pitching matchup today. But let's not gloss over the fact that what has Tyler McGill done in his last couple of outings? He's been a competent pitcher. He's been using a good mix, four-seamer, sinker, splitter, whatever else he has in his arsenal. Maybe a changeup here and there. It doesn't quite matter. Go out there and get the job done. My eyes obviously are on Tyler McGill to see how he handles the biggest start of his career. Let's just put it as plain and simple as that. This is the biggest start of his career, but more so my eyes are on the offense and how they adjust to Spencer Schwellenbach. There is a lot of things to be said. How do the Braves attack the Mets in game two? Should the Braves take game one? We'll talk about that in the postgame should that situation arise. But again, as I said in this pregame, let's not have that happen. Let's make the Mets have the final decision of how they approach game two, right? And whether they put their starters out there or not in a scenario where they've already clinched. Get the job done. First pitch coming up. Hopefully you all enjoyed the pregame. Thank you all so much for the support as always. And let's go Mets. Let's do it. It's do or die time, Rob. This is where, right, big teams and the actual contending teams separate themselves, right? A lot of people had questions coming, about the Mets coming into this season. Yeah. This is their chance to erase all of those questions and tell them, right, all the critics throughout the season, in the offseason, to prove to them that they are a playoff team and they always were a playoff team. Let's do it. I'm excited.
Absolutely. And I'm going to stay on for a few more minutes because I see more people are just rolling in like crazy. And Chris, we'll keep your channel on as well just to keep on getting more people coming in. So, Chris, I'll see you in the post game and stay safe in Milwaukee.
Sounds good. I appreciate you all. See you. Shout out to the chat, by the way.
Yes, sir. All right, guys. So stay on for a few more minutes as I am doing the in-game live today. So don't worry, guys. You don't have to move. The in-game live starts. I put the time for 12:55. I'm gonna do a little bit of a watch party pregame, just to go over the lineup, go over everything else like we did in the pregame. But for other people just tuning in to the watch party, so you can stay here and it'll take you right to the watch party at 12:50 right away as soon as it ends. So listen, guys, it's very simple. We know what it is right now. We got over 180 people in the stream right now, right? If you're on Chris's channel right now, or if you're not on Chris's channel, head over to his channel and subscribe to that channel as well. You know, we all know how, you know, Chris busy, working hard. He does this channel awesome. He knows his stuff. And, you know, we do a ton of shows together, and the pregame has been a big success this year. We started them in opening day, and, you know, it's grown over the last whole season, and we love it, and it's awesome. And, you know, it gives us, you know, all the opportunity to talk to you guys before a game. And, you know, we decided to do a post game, you know, halfway through the year because we don't, you know, more people were asking for it and we want to do it. Right. So as long as we can all do it, we're going to do it. So guys, listen, it's very simple. Win it in, right? There's no other way to get in except winning one game. Right? We can. Some people might not like the lineup. Some people might not like Tyler McGill pitching over Severino, or whatever the case may be. Right? We broke it down for you. We know what the Mets offense got to do with Schwellenbach. You got to hit that fastball. Right? If you let him pick away with you with that fastball and you don't swing at it, or he hits his corners and you're not trying to foul it off or make it hard for him, he's going to throw his breaking stuff and off-speed pitches all over the place, going to make you force to swing, going to make you put pressure on the batter. Don't let him get ahead with that fastball. Be aggressive. They were aggressive yesterday, and it worked out. You got to be the same way. There was no reason why not to be aggressive. Now, you got to be calculated here. You got to be smart with the aggressiveness. But as soon as you get people on base, if you got a somewhat fast runner on the base, try to steal. You get caught, tippy cap, good job by the catcher. Good job by the pitcher, and good job by the Braves doing a good job catching base runners. But put pressure on them. You got to put pressure on them. There was no pressure on Schwellenbach on Tuesday. There was no pressure on him when he pitched at Citi Field, you know, a few months back. Put pressure on him, right? Every time he faced the Mets, there's basically been no pressure. It seems like a lifeless performance. Today's a day, right, that I think the best thing that could have happened to the Mets, regardless, look, if they would have won 1-0, I'd probably be more scared today in game one than I am going. I'm nervous. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm a Mets fan. If I'm not nervous, then I'm the fakest fan there is then, right? I mean, we all know the history of the Mets, right? We all know about the LOL Mets for many years. We all know that the OMG is going to be a laugher, and, you know, all the gimmicks are going to mean absolutely nothing if the Mets blow this. But change history. Why not? Why can't a team that's wearing orange and blue, it has Mets across the chest or New York across the chest, change the history of the organization? Why can't this team change the course of history? The 69 Mets did. The 86 Mets did. They changed history, right? The 69 team wasn't supposed to win, right? The 73 team who didn't win the World Series got to the World Series, right? The 86 team, they were an extremely good team, but they went through a lot of close calls in the playoffs in 86. We all know the history, right? 2000. The 99 team was better than the 2000 Mets roster-wise, and we all think they were better, but the 2000 team made the World Series, right? At some point, history will write itself. The Mets players can change the history going forward. If the Mets do their job here, nobody's going to be talking next year about the history of the Braves or the Mets choke again with the Braves and in big spots, because this core is known for choking. This core has been a losing core. That's a fact. In 6 years of this core as a whole, They made the playoff once, and they got embarrassed in the playoffs. Right? There's no reason why they can't change history. Every team has gone through situations where it hasn't looked good. The players aren't looking good. But then there's a team with players, with the manager, that changes everything. Why can't it be Mendoza and this team? Why not? Why can't it be? Not saying that it will, but they have the opportunity to change the thought process of the Atlanta Braves in Atlanta, or the Atlanta Braves as an organization. They tortured us ever since they came from the West to the East. They've tortured the New York Mets. It's about time we make that change. Nobody's going to help us except for ourselves. Right? The Braves are going to be confident going into this game, right? They do have in this mind, and just listen to the Brave fans. That's either on this channel or just listen to content creators for the Braves or just the fans in general. Listen to Sports Talk Radio because I'm a nutcase in Atlanta. The Brave fans are really confident. I said this on Tuesday going into the series. The Brave fans are confident. They think the Mets are going to fall over themselves. They think the Mets are going to make the mistakes. That the Braves just have to show up, don't make mistakes, and they'll win the ball game because the Mets will mess it up. That's what they think. Change their minds. Change their thought process. Change Met fans' thought process. Change the players' mentality. If you do that, a lot of things can change, Mets fans. Everything can change. The Mets make the playoffs because they beat the Braves in a winner makes it win and in, which is basically a playoff game. Who knows if this is that win that makes them go on a run in the playoffs, right? How many times in Mets history has the Mets made the playoffs, weren't the favorites, weren't very, a lot of people just didn't have any expectations going into the playoffs, and yet they go on a run, right? That was 2015, right? That was 69, that was 73, right? It was, 2015 was crazy, right? We all seen 5 days in Flushing. We all went through the season together. The fact of the matter is, things change quickly in baseball. And there is no mistake about it. There is no biased here or anything like that. The Phillies and the Diamondbacks ended up being the third wild card. Yes, with a few less wins, but the third wild card. And they both went on a run. And if you look at those seasons, the Diamondbacks had issues, especially with their offense during the season last year. Their pitching was good, but their offense was concerning for the most part. The Phillies had one of the worst defenses and bullpen in baseball in 2022. And you know what ended up being their best asset in the playoffs? Their defense and their bullpen. It's amazing how quickly stuff changes just by getting hot at the right time. It can only take one game. That confidence level is going to be sky high if the Mets beat the Braves and make the playoffs. Now, we both still might make the playoffs if we both split. But it's amazing that, and I understand why the confidence level of Mets fans is a little worrisome. I can completely understand that. But the good news is the Mets have the chance here. They have the opportunity. That's what they have in front of them. It's up to the Mets players to grab that opportunity and run with it. That's what they got to do. That's what we have not seen. When the going gets tough, when the pressure is on, when the opportunity is right there in front of you, that's when you got to take it. And that's what they need to do today. Start with Tyler McGill on the mound, but the Mets bat first. They're the road team. They can get up on the top of the first, do what they did yesterday. Put pressure on the Braves. That's what they got to do. Right? I know, and I'm wearing the Queen South shirt. Yes, this is a shout for opening day last year in Miami, but I'm wearing it because there's a lot of Mets fans going to Atlanta today. Remember, it's a work day on a Monday in the afternoon, right? the crowds they were going to have on Wednesday and Thursday, if they were night games, were going to be massive. It's not going to be as big probably because a lot of people are working. And, there's a lot of people that are dealing with a lot of stuff in Georgia with the hurricane and all that. So, I'm not going against them and say, oh, you should get to the game. Family matters, life matters, right? But I know a lot of Met fans that are going there. There's about 13 people I know of that already are in Atlanta right now. So, and some were in Milwaukee going to Atlanta. So there's going to be a lot of Met fans there and not big, brave crowds like they would have had Wednesday and Thursday at night. This is the opportunity here where you're playing a day game, right? And take advantage of the situation that you're in. All you got to do is win one game. Do it. All right, guys. So Tyler McGill, Spencer Schwellenbach on the mound, Lindor, Iglesias, Vientos, Nimmo, Alonso, Martinez, Taylor, Alvarez, Bader is your lineup. Game 161. Both records are 88 and 72. Win one and you're in. Lose two and you're out. We will know in a few hours if the Mets have to play a meaningful game in game 162. If not, we're going to be celebrating on the post game, enjoying our saves, kicking our feet up for game 2. And no, who knows? Maybe we'll knock the Braves out of the playoffs. That would be the icing on the cake, right? But goal is win game 1, and who cares about game 2? It really doesn't matter, right? Either way, even though it would be more fun to knock them out. But do your job, play fundamental baseball, be aggressive with the fastball, Schwellenbach's fastball, and play good all-around baseball. You play sound baseball, there's a pretty good chance you can win that ball game, then lose that ball game. Let's get it done, guys. I will see you in about 40 minutes or so for Mets watch party. I'll be doing a little pregame, about 10-minute pregame, pre-watch party before the game. So tune in 12:55. All you got to do is stay here, guys. The pregame is going to take you to the watch party. Hit that like button, and I'll see you right before 1 o'clock for Mets Braves game 161. Let's go, Mets. Thank you for watching the Amazing Mets pregame show. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's go, Mets, guys. I'll see you in a little bit.
Meet the Mets, meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed